I've been asked about how I felt about the raid and how it injured my feelings. It was very devastating to me in a personal sense because my closest friend and friend in the family was my sister Ruth, and she was caught in the raid down here in Short Creek, in Old Short Creek in 1953. And we first heard that we'd never see her again. And so I was just devastated. On a personal note, I could just say that I was 11 years old and I cried all night long. My mother finally went to get my father because I was inconsolable. And it took him a while talking to me and explaining how to exercise our faith and not be overcome in our feelings by this persecution against our way of life. But it took me quite a while through the night to get control of myself. And so that was a very personal reaction to the first news that we had of the raid.
Okay. How did the people handle the raid afterwards to kind of get the people back together, and how did Billy Johnson get the people back on their feet, per se?
Well, the people in the north handled the raid down here by scattering so that we wouldn't be prosecuted in the courts. So that's how the people in the Salt Lake area handled it. And all of the leading families of plural marriage up there scattered. They scattered their wives and they moved out of the state, the wives and the children. In the South, there was a much more severe reaction here from the people in Short Creek because they had been put in detention homes and areas, the women and the children. They'd been cut off from the presence of their husbands and fathers. And the women lived by faith, and the children that were old enough to understand that lived by faith too. That meant on a daily basis and sometimes on an hourly basis. Their prayers ascended to the heavens for intercession in the circumstances that they were facing, in having children taken from their mothers, in being taken and isolated, the women, from each other, in having not sufficient food and not having clothing for babies that were arriving, having their babies threatened to take their babies away from the mothers. Many things that were very devastating to the women in trying to cope, but they all coped successfully, and their faith was productive, very productive, and the help of the Lord came through for them. Many testimonies are on record concerning those days of the faithfulness of those women who had no one to look to but the Lord.
Okay, and you want to go over a little bit about what brought the people back out of the church and what happened after the people got united in Salt Lake and Short Creek?
You mean the bringing of the people out of the church then into this work, like in the 1930s?
Yes.
Okay, the initial, all right.
Well, you mentioned